Hey everyone, it's Matt Krieger here to give the monthly update on some of the financial summaries and KPIs. And mostly really good news. December was a really, really strong month. Compared to the last couple months where we've either been really kind of at the same pace that we were at last year or slightly behind. You can see here in December, we were up 78% over where we were in December of 2023. So a really strong month. In fact, you can see here, this is just revenue by month. Here in December, we were at $757,000 of system-wide revenue. That was the best month of the year. And really outside of November, that the best month by far. And I think really the most positive results is we take a step back and we kind of look at 2024 in comparison to 2023. Um, we see a revenue per location at $312,000 compared to last year, $150,000. And so really, really strong growth. It's 107% growth on average year over year. And so even if your location is not maybe at the 312,000, I think regardless, what we've seen is tremendous growth from 23 to 24. So a lot of hard work that goes into that. A lot of proposals have been sent out, and some really really great growth that we've seen. Looking at appointments, our appointments were the lowest we've seen. That makes a lot of sense, just seasonally. That's not out of the ordinary. It's similar to what we had seen last year with the data that we had. So not out of the ordinary. But the great news is look at our revenue per appointment was $508 compared to $356 year to date, meaning that in December we were able to charge more per appointment than we were the remainder of the year or previously in the year. And so really good job of adjusting kind of the scale and the pricing on appointments. That's really what we need to see. And quite honestly, I think that probably means is we saw a lot more profitability, hopefully in December than we had in previous months. I think we probably as a system like to see fewer higher priced jobs because again that increases our capacity hopefully to do more of those. So again, I think that's all seasonal. I know that we're doing different work in December than we are in the summers, just with some of the weather around the country. So I don't think that that's sustainable, but nevertheless, it was a really good job of making that adjustment. We did see our appointment completion percentage come down. Again, nothing to really be too concerned about. 90% of our appointments that we scheduled were completed. You can see, previously all the way back to May, that number was typically 92 to 95%. This makes a lot of sense as the weather starts to change around the country, and I know it did later this year. We're gonna see more appointments that for one reason or another we're not able to complete or get pushed or get canceled, whatever it may be. So again, nothing really to cause any concern there. Just something to note. As I kick things off, I said things were mostly positive in December, and they really really were. The one thing that I will kind of bring up is we've seen our close rate decrease the last few months, and we know that that's trailing. As I kind of talked about last month, we know that's a trailing indicator, meaning that this percentage really should jump up in January because we sent some proposals out in December that will get accepted in January or even later on. With that being said, we know that October and November, for the most part, most of those proposals have had a decision on them. Now I know that there's still some that are outstanding, but again, you can see specifically like here in October, you can see our close rate was 27%. Well, if I look at the months before that, we had 36, 34. The lowest was really this 31%. I think this 41 was probably an anomaly. We really should be targeting that 33 to 35-ish% on close rate. So we're a little bit behind. I tried to dig into this and say, okay, well, is there anything that's changed? And from what I can tell, really there isn't. We've done less proposals in Q4 than we did the remainder of the year. Here you can see that we did 303 proposals. That's an average of 14 per location. That's less than we had in November. That again makes sense. It's really hard to get proposals out during the holiday season. A lot of the people that we would be proposing to, quite frankly, just aren't working. And so it makes sense that the proposal number is coming down. However, the average value of the proposals is not coming down. I looked, and again, this number is somewhat artificially inflated because we have some large proposals that inflate that. And so if I really look at kind of what a true average proposal value is, it's much closer to between 3,000 and 3,200. And that's consistent. So in other words, in December, November, October, that number was consistent with the summer. So it's not like we're proposing on larger jobs. And as we've seen in the past, we know larger jobs have a lower acceptance rate. So it is something that we need to kind of keep a monitor on. Why this close rate has dropped down. Again, it's nothing I think that's alarming, but it is something that we need to note, and we need to see that come back up. Hopefully here in Q1, we can see in Q1 last year that we had on average about a third of our proposals accepted, and so we would hope that we'd see that this year as well. Average days to accept was 12. That's lower than we've seen in previous months. Again, we still have some December proposals out there. This is just looking at the ones that were accepted. So we know that number is going to come up a little bit, and probably will be right around that 20 to 14 days that we've seen historically. So overall, like I said, really, really strong 2024. A lot of hard work that goes into that. I know I've talked with a few of you individually, and I know that even if our numbers aren't this $312,000 per location, the growth that you're seeing is still there and is still very real. And I know a lot of you have done a lot of hard work in getting proposals out there, so really good job. If I could leave you with some takeaways, one of the things I pointed out earlier was a really, really good job on the pricing and adjusting the pricing in December on some of those jobs. This is a new year. Costs are going up. Your contractor costs will go up. Your fuel will go up. Inflation will push a lot of our expenses up. This is the time to look at pricing. This has to be an annual process. And I know that a lot of small business owners get scared of this discussion, and small business owners traditionally are the ones that are the latest or are pushing their pricing up last. And what that really means is that's less money for our owners to take home. And so we really need to get into a process where we're evaluating prices around the market every year, and we're pushing prices up by 3 or 4%. The alternative is you don't increase your prices, you see your profitability decrease for 2, 3, 4 years, and all of a sudden you have to do a 10 or 15% price increase. And that's really when it's really hard to go to customers at that point and say, hey, that job that just was costing you $300 is now going to cost you $375. It's a lot easier to go to them this year and say that $300 job is now a $310 job. They're mostly not going to bat an eye at that. So January, February is typically a really good time to start evaluate your pricing and push that pricing up by 3-4%. The other thing, like I mentioned, that proposal acceptance rate, making sure that we're keeping an eye on that. If you're noticing your proposals accepted over the last few months is significantly lower, that's the time to kind of raise your hand and maybe have somebody look at the process a little bit and consider what's changed since the summer. So those would be my 2 takeaways for this month. Looking forward to 2025. Thank you.